So this is a build that the #1 player in Asia has been playing, and I saw it on Reddit and wanted to try it out myself. It's basically a warrior hunter build, but he throws in a Venomancer and keeps an Abyssal Guard in there to get a load of synergies that you wouldn't normally get. So you get the Marine synergy without having Tsunami Stalker, you get the Warlock synergy with the Venomancer and the Soul Reaper, and then there's a lot of armor shred. The Venomancer shreds armor in an AoE area when he uses his ability, and Abyssal Guard gives targeted armor shred, so you actually have a lot of armor shred on individual units, which is really good for the hunter bonus. So I wanted to try it out. I tried to force it in a game. Never recommend doing that, but I wanted to show you how that went. Now, I'm also giving away a Nintendo Switch and a free game on the channel this month. All you need to do is like, subscribe, and hit the bell, and then when you get that notification, leave a comment on the video, and that comment will guarantee you an entry for the Nintendo Switch. And if you like PS4s, Claytano is giving away a PS4 on his channel, so you can go and do the same thing. Leaving a comment on any of his videos will qualify you for that. Hey guys, so the audio quality on this video was kind of garbage, so I decided to do another voiceover, and I thought I'd sort of go through what I did with the individual plays that I made in this game to actually make this build happen. It was a very interesting build, like I said. It's not something that I'd played before. It's a variation of warriors and hunters. So I've definitely played the 3 hunters warrior build before. Really, the only major changes is the fact that he's running Abyssal Guard over something like Werewolf, and he's running Venomancer as an extra unit at level 8 over whatever other utility piece that you wanted to bring to the table. Like I said, so what this provides is that you get 7 different synergies, which is a lot of synergies to include in one composition. You've got the Agursis, the Hunter, the Warlock, the Demon, the Marine. Now I've got to test my knowledge here. You've also got the Warrior bonus, and then you have got... God, I need to like stretch my mind here. Blank. Sorry. Oh, Dwarf. Yeah, the Dwarf synergy. So you've got 2 individual synergies plus 5 synergies that you need other units for. And that makes it a really interesting build in the long term, because what it does is it gives you lots of versatility, and I said one of the main benefits of this particular build is that it provides you with a lot of armor shred. Like, this build is a really big armor shred build, because you have the Abyssal Guard that shreds armor, and then you have the Venomancer that shreds armor. And when you reduce the armor, you increase the power of the hunter bonus, because that hunter bonus now does more damage because you've reduced the armor of the targets that you're facing. So it's a really interesting build, and I thought it was a really cool, unique twist on the hunter builds that we've been seeing. So I wanted to test it out in this game. Now, hunters as a general are very good early game units, because the flat increase in attack damage is very powerful. So you can see here that I've started off with 3 hunters. I always just try and pick up as many Agursis Rangers as possible. She's not a very heavily contested unit right now, which means you can level 3 or you can 3-star her really easily. And whenever I decide to go hunters, she is usually a very early 3-star that I pick up. So whenever you're playing hunters and you want to commit to hunters from the get-go, which, you know, I think committing to a build from the get-go is never a particularly good idea, but if you want to do that, you can pick up all of the hunters that you can in the early game, and there are a lot of 1 and 2 cost hunters, including Agursis Ranger, Shining Archer, and Skull Hunter, and they are 1 and 2 costs. They will give you the hunter bonus super quickly, and then that'll allow you to get online very rapidly with your hunter build. So right now what I'm doing is just buying as many units as possible. I'm putting Swordman on the field simply because I want to have that Cave Climb bonus too. That flat HP increase makes my level 1 Skull Hunter and my level 1 Swordman more like a 1.5-star unit. You know, it gives them the HP of halfway to a 2-star almost. So it's a very strong upgrade for the early game, because you're just going to take less damage, you can have more time to tank, and as you can see, my hunters get a bit more time to do their job, which is basically attack the units which are important. Now, unfortunately, I faced 2 very strong blokes in a row, and level 2, a Swordman plus a level 2 Lightblade Knight. Lightblade Knight is very strong at level 2 early on. She's one of the strongest level 2s in terms of DPS. I think she's kind of useless at level 1, but she's very good at level 2. So you can see here I've now also picked up the Dwarf Sniper, which means I can take Shining Archer off for the time being. Shining Archer doesn't actually feature in my build so I can get rid of her. Even though I was close to having her to 2-star, I wasn't that important. Basically for me, I just wanted to get the build online. This whole video was about me testing out this build, so if I did something that was different to the build, it would have made the video pointless. What I'm going to do here is I'm at 6 gold. I have 3 1 costs on my bench that I don't mind selling. If I win this round, which, considering who I'm going up against, if I kill the Soul Breaker quickly, then I'm pretty certain we're going to win. As soon as I know that I'm going to win this round, which is as soon as I kill the Soul Breaker, I sell all of the 1 costs on my bench. The reason being is I don't need them, they're not going to feature in my composition, and I use that with the 1 gold that I get for winning to get to the 10 gold threshold, which gives me just a little bit of extra gold going into the next round, which is always nice. I want to point out something about the dwarf synergy that you may have noticed on that last round. The dwarf synergy is fine as long as your dwarf isn't getting hit. What you may have noticed there is the level 2 Soulbreaker was just hitting my dwarf in the head over and over again, my dwarf sniper. And what that meant was that my dwarf sniper never turned around to attack the guy that was attacking him. My dwarf sniper never turned around to attack the Soulbreaker because he was busy attacking the lowest HP target on the field. That is a problem when you play up against assassins as hunters, is that Dwarf Hunter was always a good unit to attack aggressive assassins in the back line. Now he's just not going to do that until that particular assassin becomes the lowest HP target on the field. So there is definitely swings and roundabouts to this new Dwarf synergy increase. It's not always rainbows and unicorns. So you can see here that I haven't actually leveled up. This is a tactic that you can do when you've got a strong 4 units. And when you've got 3 hunters plus Cave Clan, that's a pretty strong set of 4 units. So I'm basically just trying to build an economy off a level 4 composition. I'm already at 22 gold, and this is because I sold those units early on, by the way. It allowed me to accelerate my gold thresholds very quickly. So I'm not going to upgrade the levels here because I don't need to. I'm very happy to sit at level 4 and then get to level 5 naturally, because we've actually got a pretty strong early composition, and even if I lose, it doesn't matter to me. The reason it doesn't matter to me if I lose is just for the simple fact that that we aren't win streaking or lose streaking at the moment. We're middling. So the best case scenario for me when middling is like getting a very strong 4 composition and just getting to 50 gold, and then thinking about leveling. So I'm almost generating gold at the same rate as a lose streaker would be, but we're going to get there maybe 1 or 2 rounds afterwards, but we're still going to hit 50 gold very quickly, and then we can start thinking about levels. It's the best way to get out of a middling scenario. So you can see here I've just hit the 30 gold threshold. I've hit level 5. The only unit that I can bring on is a level 1 Agursis Ranger. Now that isn't even that bad, by the way. A level 1 Agursis Ranger is not the worst thing in the world to bring on, simply because... Sorry, one second, I'm just moving my microphone. Simply because a level 1 Agursis Ranger is going to give benefit from the... she's going to benefit from the hunter bonus anyway, so she's just another unit that gets a plus 35 attack damage. So I could just put her on the field and she actually becomes like a 1.5 star because she gets that attack damage increase. And again, still feel like I've got a pretty strong level 4 composition. I'm going up against a guy who's got a very strong Beast Warrior composition when he's already got a Soul Reaper in there, so I'm not going to win this one. But like I said, for me, it's not about winning or losing these rounds. I'm at 30 gold. I just want to get to my next gold threshold as quickly as possible, and you can see that generally if you're middling, you very rarely find yourself at round 10 with just under 40 gold, and compared to everyone else in the field, I'm having a great time. So considering that I've actually got a bit of gold to spare here, and we're on the neutral round, so I'm not going to be able to get anywhere close. I actually pick up the pair of Hell Knights because I could actually very happily have Hell Knight in as a random like 2-star unit in this composition that will help at least bully my way through some of the fights that I wouldn't have been able to do before. Like I'd take a level 2 Hell Knight for the Wolf round, for instance, because it's something that is definitely going to be very viable at tanking those, but also dealing a lot of damage to them too. What you don't need to worry about with hunters is that in general, hunters are very, very good at dealing with neutral rounds because they have that flat attack damage increase. So don't worry too much about dealing with neutral rounds when you've got hunters, because they generally do very well. Obviously, you'd need maybe 1 level 2, but you're seeing that actually hunters in general at level 1 are pretty strong and can deal with neutral rounds quite effectively. So don't worry about hunters when you're trying to deal with the neutral. Sorry guys, I'm in a constant battle with the wind here on Lipari, and I've just set up a little windshield, and hopefully that will reduce some of the wind noises that I'm getting on my microphone. Like I said though, I don't need to worry too much about neutral rounds when you're playing hunters, because they're pretty good at dealing with neutral rounds. Anything that is a flat damage increase is good at dealing with neutral rounds. That's why mages are so bad at dealing with neutral rounds, because they don't really have flat attack damage and they only deal magic damage, which neutral round creeps are pretty good at dealing with, to be completely honest with you. So now I'm at 40 gold. I'm not going to buy anything. Neither do I need to sell my Hell Knights, because they're not going to get me to the 50 gold threshold. So I'm going to sit here on 40 gold, which for someone that's been middling is a really, really good threshold to have hit by round 11. Usually if you're lose streaking, you'd expect to hit 50 gold by about round 11 or round 12. So I'm in a situation where I haven't even been lose streaking, realistically. I've been middling, and I've ended up with 40 gold, although my HP has paid the price for it overall. This is kind of the situation that I'm now in. Now, you may say, okay, nice, go for the Hell Knight 2, but you could have sold it and got over 50 gold. Well, Hell Knight 2 I think is going to be more useful for me overall. It's a really, really good unit in its own right. It's a demon for one, and obviously demons have got that powerful strength of getting extra pure damage when they're the only demon on board. And a level 2 Hell Knight is pretty tanky too, and my composition right now is sorely lacking like durable tanks. I was at the point where I was like, okay, well, like I could have got over 50 gold this round, but I also want to try and invest and protect my HP. So this was a decision that needed to be made, that I took a gamble of saying, if I won, might have got over 50 gold. I could have stuck with just the Skull Hunters, but honestly I think the Hell Knight level 2 was just good to have on board, and I could happily sacrifice one more round before I was able to get over that 50 gold threshold. My HP was still very comfortable for 50 gold. I was at 64, which is perfectly fine. And you can see here that I also pick up the Dwarf Sniper. Now I end up selling off the Swordman, because I don't need him in my late game comp. I end up putting on 2 Dwarf Snipers on as well, because why not? Just put the 2 Dwarf Snipers on. The other thing that I could have considered was buying up the Red Axe Chief and putting on Red Axe, but I was pretty happy to just have the 2 Dwarf Snipers and see how it went. I wanted to put one on either side and see if it distracted any sort of pesky assassins or whatever. But overall now I feel like, we can start investing all of this gold that we've got post 50 gold into levels, and I feel like we're generally pretty strong in this scenario. I generally feel like we're in a pretty strong scenario in this particular situation. Sorry, the wind is coming at me fast and fierce right now. I'm trying to protect my microphone as much as possible. Looks like I'm managing to do so. But yeah, like I said, it's all about now investing into experience. I want to get to level 8 as quickly as possible. I need to find the units that make this composition work, and all of those really come online at like level 8. The thing about this build is it requires Doom, it requires Pirate Captain, it requires Soul Reaper, it requires Venomancer, it requires Siren. 5 of those are 4-cost units. Now I'm sure you could replace things like Doom, I'm sure, but you can't replace Venomancer, you can't replace Soul Reaper realistically, you can't replace Pirate Captain because of the CC. Doom is about the only thing that you could replace for another warrior. So this is a very heavy and very expensive build to make work. So I'm going to give you my thoughts on it as we get towards the end of the game. I do think this is a good comp, by the way, just in case you were wondering. I actually genuinely do think this is a very good composition. I think it was a good innovation by the #1 Queen player in Asia to come up with it. It has obviously been very effective for them at the higher ranks because they've been spamming it. But it is an expensive build to get online. It does require you to have not been doing bad in the game. Or, if you have been doing bad, it requires you to be fairly lucky. In general, I would recommend, guys, when you are this far ahead in general, what you want to do is invest. Also, when you're this far ahead in economy before round 15, what you want to do is invest all of your gold into levels. If you can afford to. Obviously, if you're in a situation where, if you're in a situation where it's not viable because you have such low HP and you need to roll for things to keep yourself alive, then that's fair enough. And I would question how you got there if you got to that point before round 15. But in general, if you have the time and the HP available, whenever you're above 50 gold and you can afford to, it's always better in the most part to invest that gold into experience to make sure that you can basically accelerate your level advantage. Levels are things that don't have any RNG in terms of improving your power levels, so it's guaranteed power level increase by investing gold, which you don't usually get from rolling. Rolling is a chance power level increase. Rolling is basically saying, maybe I'll get this power level increase. So something that you might have seen me do here is that I picked up 2 Frantic Masks. Accidentally, obviously, it was a great bit of RNG to pick up 2 Frantic Masks, but I picked up 2 Frantic Masks, and they're a great addition to my Agursis Ranger, especially with the Agursis Ranger buff on the last update. She benefits really, really heavily from lifesteal. She also has that extra attack speed and attack damage increase that you get from her passive. So that's a really good set of a really, really nice set of items to put onto my Agursis Ranger, because she's essentially now in a really, really strong position. And if I can get her to level 3, that's even stronger. Haven't really found any more Agursis Rangers, as you can see, but we are starting to win versus people that we were previously losing against. So I think overall we're actually in a pretty good spot. We're also almost level 8 at round 16, like about 3 more gold investments, and we'll be at level 8. So we're actually super close to hitting a big threshold for this composition, because this composition comes online at level 8. You require 8 units to make the full composition work. So in this point in the game, what I've got is I've got a priest on the board as well. He's going to help me lose streak a little bit more effectively. Well, not lose streak, he's going to help buffer the losses, is the way I'll put it. Having the priest on board is going to save me a lot of HP. And in general, he's just a good unit to have added to the composition when you aren't in the strongest place in the world. If you can afford a unit slot and you know that you're going to lose, having the priest on board is going to save you 20% HP each round. And that could be the difference maker when it comes to you winning or you losing, or you getting top 3 or you not getting top 3. So what you'll actually notice this game is how much HP the priest actually saved me, and I do want you to keep your eyes on that, because it will become relevant in the later game. Adding a random priest to your composition is very good if you're sucking and you need a bit more time to come online, because he will save you that extra little bit of HP. He'll help you deal with it, and he'll hopefully get you over the edge to that top 3 position. You see here, he saved me 2 HP in that instance. I would have taken 10, I took 8 instead. And you'll notice that a lot over the next few rounds as I start to build the strength of this composition. I am almost level 8, like I said. Level 8 round 18 is pretty good. And then I can start to look to roll and build things, and roll and build things. And that's probably what I need to start doing over the next few rounds. When you're in a situation like this and you haven't really naturally found the units that you need to make your composition strong, a lot of it just comes a bit about, like, okay, now we need to start rolling. I'm level 8 now. There is no need to randomly invest into levels at this point, because actually I need to just start building my genuine composition. I need to start building the units that actually make this composition good. So you have to be very, very aware about where you're spending your gold. So usually when I'm above 50 gold, unless I'm in an absolutely dire scenario like 30 to 20 HP, I will try and roll above 40 gold most of the time. As you can see, I'm getting flattened by a lot of the stronger compositions in this game. I'm actually protecting a lot of my HP due to the priest, which is again, I think it's been such a clutch addition to my lineup since round 15, because it has protected my HP more than I really should have got away with, if I'm completely honest with you. But it is genuinely turning this from a terrible game into a half decent recoverable game. But I am now in a place where I'm like, okay, I actually probably need to start looking for those core units, and those core units are, like I said before, the Soul Reaper. I'm looking for the Venomancer, which I just found there. I'm also looking for Pirate Captain. I'm looking for Doom as well. But I have now got the Warlock bonus and the Agursis bonus online. We also are now looking for Siren to replace Skull Hunter with, and then we're also looking for Pirate Captain to provide us with the CC. So there are a couple of things that we need that we haven't yet found, but the composition has started to come online now. We've started to get the Warlock bonus, which is obviously going to be great on top of the Frantic Masks that my Agursis Ranger has got. We've got the Armor Shred, which is making it much easier for my hunters to get their work done. There are a couple of issues that I am facing, though. And I want to talk to you about those, because they are things that you will face when you play hunters in general. I have found 0 mana generation items. Now, why is that a problem, you say? Well, it's a problem because, unfortunately, Siren sucks without mana generation items. You really need Siren's mana generation capabilities when you are using her on field, because she just needs to get that ultimate off quickly. I have no Magicka crystals this game, which means that I've just got no ability to generate mana, which is very, very difficult when you're in a situation where you have a Siren, because Siren is very important to generate mana on, because her ultimate is so important, and the quicker you cast it into a fight, the better chances you have of winning. I haven't found Pirate Captain, haven't found Doom at all. And those are two big key units to this composition. Not only will they give me the warrior bonus with the Abyssal Guard, but they're also going to be big, beefy frontliners that buy me time when using the rest of my comp. So that's another worry that we have when it comes to units that we have on the field. The other worry that I have is that I haven't found any of the sort of the major upgrades in terms of my Aegirsis Ranger yet. I'm still struggling to find my my 3-star Aegirsis Ranger, so that's also something that we have to be very concerned about when it comes to it. And also, I haven't found anywhere near to a 3-star Abyssal Guard, and a 2-star Abyssal Guard is going to fall off the face of the cliff eventually. Now you can see here I did finally find my Siren, which is obviously a great... Bloody hell. Sorry guys, I'm trying to battle the wind here, and it's very, very trying to battle the wind here, and it's genuinely a bit of a battle. So again, Siren is okay, but look, she hasn't even cast her ultimate, and this fight's nearly already over. Like that's not a good place for a Siren to be. The only reason you ever buy a Siren is to cast her ultimate. Because that's what she's good for. She's really only a good ultimate bot. And I'm looking at that guy's magic crystal that he just picked up with Pure Disgust. I'm like, I wish that was my magic crystal. I wish I had that magic crystal. I'm not going to lie to you. So yeah, I'm in that situation right now where I just need the mana generation on my Siren. I haven't got any, so we just essentially have to get her to level 2. It's really the only out in this situation. You can see that I'm starting to pick up some of the other core units that I need. I've got the potential Venomancer 2, I've got the potential Soul Reaper 2, still no Pirate Captain, and still no Doom, but we have got a very close to a 3-star Dwarf Hunter. We have got very close to a couple of other major upgrades too, and I'm starting to see the strength of this composition, mainly due to the Armor Shred, the targeted Armor Shred of the Abyssal Guard, and the Armor Shred AoE of the Venomancer is proving to be pretty strong at dealing with big beefy frontline units. You know, I was very, very heavily struggling in this game. I was starting to fall behind by quite a massive extent, but we are actually starting to come back into this game, even versus some of the strongest players in this game, simply because this build is actually very good at targeted abilities or targeted shooting on individual units which you burn the armor on. Now, I am still losing to the beast, the guy in the first place, which is the feathered beast assassin guy. He has been pretty far ahead the entire game, but I know that hunters in general, as long as you get a good enough front line, even with 3 hunters, generally tend to beat. They generally tend to beat the feathered players, because you have that evasion piercing. Now, I have picked up the Pirate Captain a little bit late, and I also pick up the 3-star Dwarf Sniper, which is fantastic, which means I can just put another Soul Reaper on. So we are actually now getting to a point where we're very strong in this game. I have rolled pretty extensively because, again, I'm at 36 HP. I can't really afford to mess around too much with my gold income and trying to build it up and play fancy at 50 gold all the time, because we are very close to, you know, especially with Beast Warriors in the field, we are very close to 1 or 2 rounds of actually being out. So you have to be very careful about who you're actually playing up against, because you can see here, even versus this guy, this is the guy that was in 3rd position. He's playing Beast Warrior. Like, we got flattened by him. We no longer have the priest on board. We have to be very careful about, you know, our HP total, because one wrong round, if they get any major upgrades, and then they're... Oh, bloody windshield. If they get any major upgrades, like, we just end up losing. You know, one round could spell the death of us. So I'm now just like rapidly searching for Doom. I'm also rapidly searching for 3-star Aegirsis Ranger, 2-star Venomancer, 2-star Pirate Captain, anything like that. I do pick up the Doom eventually, which is nice. That gives me the full lineup. So this is exactly what the composition should look like, by the way. This is the full composition, if anybody was wondering. I am also looking for a Gersis 3-star, Venomancer 2-star, and Pirate Captain 2-star. As soon as I 2-star my big boys, I actually think we have a game-winning composition here. We could potentially get first. But we do need to 2-star Doom, we do need to 2-star Pirate Captain, and we do need to essentially try and get the rest of my composition online. But we actually have the units that we need to make this comp work now, and you're starting to see how strong it can be. I just took on the first place player and actually crushed him pretty convincingly, if I do say so myself. And with a 3-star Agersis, with the items that I've got on her, like, we're going to be in a very, very strong position in terms of damage output. The Dwarf Sniper is just popping off, though. Dwarf Sniper is just doing absolute work. There was a long, far-fetched dream of me potentially going for a 3-star Abyssal Guard, but with the warrior comps that I'm facing, I just don't think it's a viable option. I just don't think it's likely that I'm going to pick up an Abyssal Guard at 3-star, because I'm already competing with other warrior players for Abyssal Guard, and he's really only there for that targeted armor shred. Like, if he just armor shreds the first thing that stands in front of him and the rest of my hunters are actually focusing it, that thing's going to go down pretty quickly regardless. So if he gives me like 1 unit kill, he trades 1 for 1 effectively with his ultimate. If that 1 unit that he trades into is a powerful unit, then we're in a really good spot. Itemization wise, by the way, all my frantic masks are going onto my Agersis Ranger. Any other extra damage I'm going to put directly onto my Dwarf Sniper. He lasts the longest, he takes out units with the lowest HP. Any extra pure damage that I'm getting is going to go directly onto my Dwarf Hunter. That's the situation that I'm in. I'm also now in a position where I don't need to like roll for level 9. I could roll for level 9, but there's nothing that I'd bring on like massively in this position. So I'm very happy to just say, okay, like let's search for that 3-star Agersis Ranger. Let's search for those 2 stars that we need, like the Venomancer and the Doom. Because once they're online, we're in like a very strong position compared to the rest of the field. This has not been the easiest game in the world. I have been trying to force a build out the gates, which is something that I think is good in the lower ranks. Forcing a build is good in the lower ranks, but I don't think forcing a build at Rook and King level is good at all, because you're just not going to be able to. A lot of people will be competing for the same builds as you, and you're not going to find the units that you need. So you need to be more flexible when it comes to dealing with builds when you get to the higher ranks. So I did go into this game trying to force a particular build, and this is a very specific build, by the way. It's not that flexible. Like I said, there's only really 1 unit that you can replace, and that's Doom, and really can only be replaced for another warrior. And that other warrior could be a multitude of things. Going to level 9, there are lots of units that you could bring on. You could bring on any of your utility pieces. You could bring on things like Devastator. You could bring on things like Dark Spirit versus Knights, for instance, but overall, like, you don't need that many extra pieces beyond what I've got right here. Level 9 is definitely something that I would consider this game, just because I want to keep up with the rest of the field, and I don't know, without a level 2, without a 2-star Venomancer and without a 2-star Doom, I don't know how long I'm going to last versus some of the really beefed out players. There is a guy playing Beast Warrior right here called Caban1, who has just got the most stacked comp right now. He's got 3 stars all over the place. So you can see I'm fighting him right here. He's got 2-star Doom, he's got 3-star Stone Spirit, he's got 3-star Tusk Champion. Although I'm beating him here, he's got the grounds for a very, very, very strong composition. Crystal Sword comes out as a completed item, by the way. I hand that actually over to my Dwarf Sniper. I've never actually had a completed item gifted over to me, by the way. Really interesting that happened. I've never actually seen that happen before. Getting a full completed item gifted to you instead of the components, which was really interesting. That's the first time it's ever happened to me. I don't know if that's ever happened to you guys, but I give that straight over to my Dwarf Sniper, because like I said, any extra damage that I get is going to go on to Dwarf Sniper over Agersis Ranger. Now, I could have given it to Agersis Ranger because she's got a quicker attack speed and she might have made better use of it, but my Dwarf Sniper needs that bit of extra damage, and especially with the high amount of damage that he's got, if he can get a 1.5 times damage hit, like a critical strike, that's just absolutely insane. I rolled down to find some of my 2-stars, because I am a little bit worried about my comp in the late game. Because we are now getting to the late game. I mean, we're like closing up on round 30. I can see that this 9 warrior player, which, by the way, I'm going to do a video on 9 warriors because I played it after this game. I literally played this game and I was like, wait, 9 warriors is pretty broken. And then I went and played a game of 9 warriors. It's a very strong comp right now, and I don't actually have the damage to deal with it if I don't get my Venomancer ultimate off. So that is something that's to pay in mind. If you don't get the Venomancer ultimate off, and that's why Venomancer 2 is so important, you actually start to struggle to kill things. And that's why Venomancer is there. He's there because you don't have 6 hunters. He's there to reduce the armor. He's there to be a tank. It does help you versus warrior comps, but you need to get him to level 2 for it to be viable in the late game. And as you can see, I found no Dooms and no Venomancers this entire game. I'm also giving up on my dream of the 3-star Abyssal Guard just now. I basically said to myself, sell off those Abyssal Guards, you're never going to use them. Let's either go to level 9 and bring on a unit that can help versus the warriors, or let's try and roll down and find my 2-star Venomancer and my 2-star Doom. Given the rest of the players in this game, I actually think having the level 9 addition to the team would be very strong. I think versus the Assassins, versus the Feathered, just getting one extra unit like a Devastator on board would be very good in helping my chances at dealing with some of these extra compositions that I have to worry about. It's not going to be so good versus the 9 Warrior player. Why is that? The 9 Warrior player has boatloads of armor. So I do have to be concerned about the fact that this is a Devastator with physical damage. It's going to be reduced by the armor that the Warriors have got. Devastator's not going to help me there. But in my head, I am now in a situation where I'm not actually competing versus the 9 Warrior player. I know that I'd have to be insanely lucky to beat the 9 Warrior player. I'd have to get the right mix of items gifted to me, the level 2 Doom, the level 2 Venomancer, which I haven't seemed to found the entire game. I don't need to worry about the 9 Warrior player. He's probably going to win this game. I've resigned myself to that at this point in time. The 9 Warrior guy is probably going to win this game. The people that I do have to be concerned about are the Feathered player and the guy who's playing like a weird composition. I don't exactly know what he's playing, but he's playing something slightly weird. So I need to be worried about Karateka and the guy above me as well. I can't pronounce the name. They're playing Feathered and they're playing like I think it was either Assassins or a weird composition. I decided to go to level 9, and you can see me here with my teleport dagger. I don't really want to give it to anybody. I could give it to Pirate Captain, but then he no longer becomes a frontliner. So I don't really have anybody to give this teleport dagger to. So what my advice when it comes to teleport daggers is if you don't know who to give it to or you don't have a good target, just don't. Just don't give it to anybody. Because teleport dagger is kind of like a... it's an item that could potentially make or break your games. And in my situation, it could very easily break my games. So that's why I'm not actually using teleport dagger in this scenario, because it's just not an item that I actually want to give over to anybody. So we can now see that this guy has fully activated his 9 Warrior comp, and I just ain't winning versus that much armor. That is just too much armor to deal with. I'm constantly checking how I'm doing versus other people in the game right now, because obviously they are also my competitors. I'm not really looking for the number 1 spot at this point in time. I'm actually looking for the number 2 or number 3 spot. Top 3 is my aim in this situation. Like I said, I think this build is good, but it does require a lot of expensive units to make work, and that's my only reservation about the build. This build did get me out of the middle of nowhere. I was in a very, very rocky place, and now I'm suddenly contesting for top 3, despite having a terrible game, realistically. I had good early economy, but didn't pick up any of the units that I wanted in the mid-game, essentially. So I've actually picked up a Devastator, and I did put the Teleport Dagger onto Devastator. That's a pretty big thing, because Devastator in general is one of the few units that I think really makes use of Teleport Dagger. I think it's one of the few units in the game that you can very genuinely say, yes, I like this unit having Teleport Dagger. And so I put it on him, and we could see that it actually made a big difference. I'm also beating the other 2 players that I have to deal with in this game, which is a big deal for me because I need to be able to beat them consistently to make sure that I somehow keep myself in a viable position for that top spot. The other thing that is worth noting, by the way, is that I still haven't found a 2-star Doom and still haven't found a 2-star Venomancer. My lineup would be 10 times stronger if I found those units, especially a 2-star Doom. That would make such a big difference because he's much beefier and much tankier, and Venomancer is also much more effective when he's at 2-star also. I'm in a game now where I can beat the other 2, but I need to mitigate my losses versus Raban, who is the 9 Warrior player, quite extensively. He's the guy that I need to mitigate my losses versus, because if I lose really badly versus him, then I don't have much leeway versus the other guys. This is the full feathered player, by the way, the guy that's playing 6 feathered. As I said, we beat 6 feathered pretty nicely. We are very happy with our 6 feathered comp, beating 6 feathered, because we have that evasion. And also you can see that I'm actually not losing to the 9 warrior player that badly. So I'm pretty comfortable going into matchups versus him that I can retain my HP total pretty effectively. 9 warrior beats pretty much everything else in this game right now. 9 warrior even beats feathered, by the way. A lot of people have kind of said, oh, does 9 warrior beat feathered? It does. The reason 9 warrior beats feathered is because it basically feathered, while they dodge a lot, they actually also deal absolutely no damage to the warriors. So the warriors just sit there tanking damage, and eventually, once the warriors actually pierce through with things like, Tusk Champions hit, Swordman spin, that kind of stuff, they just end up winning out. So this is versus the 9 warrior player again, and right, like I said, this is just not about winning. This is about mitigating my losses, and the random addition of the Devastator, the armor shred is just allowing me to just try and not lose as hard as possible. The dwarf sniper is helping me pick off weaker units. We are losing by 1 or 2 units around. A little bit more on this one, but it's really actually not bad losses to take, if I'm completely honest with you. One guy gets knocked out here. There is also now 3 people left, so I've secured top 3. I'm pretty happy having secured top 3 with the Devastator randomly added. I've still got no 2-star Venomancer. I still haven't seen another Doom. We've got Black Dragon King here, and then I should go on to face... I think it resets, but my hope is that I don't face Raban, and then I face up against Drexma, and then he ends up losing and going out the game, because then I'm in a situation where I've got top 2 for sure, and top 2 is a really good result given this game. And like I said, I think this build has real legs, but you need to 2-star your stuff. And YouTube time, yes, you're right, this was YouTube time. You need to 2-star your Venomancer, you need to 2-star your Doom. It just requires a lot of gold and a lot of luck in a certain way to get into a situation where it's actually super viable. Because I still haven't found bloody Venomancer or Doom at all, which is hardcore triggering me, as you can tell. And I've lost too much HP to make it even like a bigger comeback mechanic, because now I'm going against a guy who's got 10 units. 10 units plus the Siren bonus, which means my Soul Reaper damage and my Pirate Captain damage is going to be reduced. And he's got Siren, which means that he can actually freeze me as well as I can freeze him. And I'm never going to kill his Siren before he actually gets that off. So I'm going against the Feather player again. The Devastator is doing so much work versus this guy, by the way. I don't know if you know, Devastator is a very powerful tech unit just because it's just a huge burst damage. I love having Devastator in versus Feathered. I love having Devastator in versus Mages because they just don't deal with it. Just not very good at dealing with it. So after this round that I win, we notice that Drexma gets knocked out. We finally get a Magic Crystal for my my Siren. Not good enough, by the way, but we finally get a Magic Crystal. I now get a Doom and a Venomancer in one turn, but I can't actually afford them. And because I'm probably going to die on the next turn, I have to pick up the random Venomancer. So we're now just basically putting on bits and bobs randomly. We're just saying, okay, like let's just put some random. Actually, we didn't even get a Magic Crystal. So now we're just saying, let's just put some random stuff on all of my units because we might as well. We're gonna lose this game anyway, so let's just put some random stuff on my units. And now we're going to go into this 9 warrior battle. He's now picked up a God of War 3, which means I'm never going to kill it because of the extra armor that it's got and the damage reduction. You can see how long it takes me to actually kill this God of War. It's such a good unit versus hunters because they have to focus it down and it generally faces them. And we just get absolutely slaughtered on this round. There was just nothing that we could have done here. He was just too strong. 9 warriors have too much armor, and we didn't have enough armor shred to actually beat this player, so we end up losing. And like I said, like I kind of want to give my closing thoughts on this build. I think it's a very, very strong build, super strong if you can get it to work. It doesn't require too many contested hunters. It's easy to 3-star some of your key units, but it is a very expensive build and doesn't have much flexibility. So if you get Doom and Pirate Captain and Venomancer, great. But you also need Siren and you also need Soul Reaper, and they're kind of like non-negotiable changes. So it's not exactly the most consistent build in the world when it comes to getting top 3. But if you can get the units online, you can see that I managed to turn a game that I was doing terribly into a game that I was doing pretty well. So it was worth considering. And that's my thoughts on that build. Alright guys, see you soon.